the show. We have Bookie on the talking drum, so it's going to be a really rocky show today. We also have a pretty interesting menu, but before we go to that, let me introduce to you my guests. Welcome. And another welcome for Bookie. Now I'll tell you that later on we are bringing on a really special person. She's going to be telling us about what she's doing. We also have a really great menu. We have Semovita and Ogbono. So don't you go away. We'll be right back.
Nigeria, the Ogbonge matter waiting for ground now. Be say, make we stop to the kill ourselves. Say because I come from south, you come from north. You be Muslim, I be Christian. All of us are the same thing. But we no agree make it devil sport is better work. We got us start for Nigeria. Nigeria now our own. This is better message from NTDC.
Welcome back. We are going to make Semovita with the Ogbono soup. This is Ogbono blended. This is Ogbono not blended. For this sauce, we need dry pepper, onion, dadawa, ground form of dadawa. Then we have potash. We have ogiri mixed with pepper cones. We have crayfish, stockfish, fresh pepper with ginger. This is the pounded form. Bitter leaf when it's not been washed and processed. Why I'm saying processed is because you have to really process it to get the bitterness out of the leaf. And when it's been processed, this is what it looks like. This can now go into your soup without being extra bitter. Salt, seasoning, palm oil. Main protein source today is goat meat. We are going to get on with it. The meat goes in. I'm just going to add some water. This meat has been cleaned, so I'm just going to put some water in there. Salt. And 2 cubes of seasoning. Now I want to add the pepper. This is the pepper that's been crushed together with the ginger. That goes in now. And I'm going to put that on the fire and we'll just get on with it. I'll cover that, let it start heating up. And then I'll go for the onions. When cooking Ogbono soup, a lot of people say the onions reduces on the viscosity. They say viscosity, that to me is just pure Oyibo. Ogbono soup is draw, right? Draw, that's what we call it. What is viscous? What is viscosity? Viscosity is not soup. Draw is soup, Abby? All right, good. So in your draw, many people don't like putting onions in their draw, but we are going to put onions in ours and see how it goes. I love onions, so I try to cook with it a lot. So that too goes in. That's gone in now. And I'll give the stockfish. Now I'm going to rinse the stockfish. We have small pieces of stockfish here. Now if we had bigger pieces of stockfish, we'd probably have to start boiling the stockfish before we boil the goat meat, because goat meat cooks really fast and stockfish is quite hard. So you might start with your stockfish, give your stockfish a little rinse and boil it first before you add the goat meat. But because these are small pieces of stockfish, we're just going to put them in with the goat meat so they would all boil together. While our meat is boiling, we are going to put water to make the Semovita. So we are going to add to our sauce now some crayfish, the iru, and the ogiri. draw soup is ogbono. Have you ever wondered where this ogbono seed comes from? We are going to find out on the show today. So here is a story of how you get ogbono seeds. Ogbono is the seed of a wild bush mango plant called dika, or the African mango.
It's still only here in the bush. In Nigeria, we get it in Ebonyi State, Abakaliki. Outside, we get it in Cameroon. It used to fall. Before them pick it and peel it and get the melon ball inside.
It is valued for its fat and protein content. As a soup thickener, it is quite viscous, and a little can go a long way. When using ogbono, avoid the seeds with damp or greenish brown mold. Ogbono is also known as akpo. It is very popular along the West African coast. Would you have guessed that the ogbono comes from a wild variety of mango? I'm asking audience, would you have guessed that? All right, well, that's it. Ogbono here in the studio is steaming away. That's the meat. We're going to add the crayfish. I wanted to do that earlier, but we can add it now. Crayfish. Palm oil. That's 3 cooking spoons. That's about half a kilogram of goat meat. So they're just relative, really. Measurement in cooking is very relative. All right, we're ready to put our semovita into the boiling water. Usually when I make semovita, I do a cold mix first so that it doesn't go all lumpy. We want to get this to be really nice and smooth, and then we'll pour that into the boiling water. Because my friends tell me that semovita is not a very nice morsel to eat because of the consistency of semovita. It has the tiny seeds, right? It feels like it's not really fine flour. The texture of semovita still has the tiny rough feel to it, and they say they can taste that or feel that when they're eating, in difference to say pounded yam or amala, which is really smooth. But if you start your semovita like this, you know, it helps to make it smoother. So this is all nice, and we're now going to add that. I like this, so I'm dancing now cooking. I'm loving it. So we're done with that. I'm just going to give it a stir. Cover it and let it simmer for a little. And our ogbono soup, our mixture of goat meat and Can you smell the iru now? Okay. Are you getting it? Okay. But goat meat also has a very strong aroma, right? You're getting that as well. See, Nigerian cooking is really about balancing flavors. In one pot, you're having goat meat, stockfish, iru. They are all very strongly flavored ingredients, but at the same time, we just have a way of blending it together and it still turns out nice, right? I love African food. I don't know about other people. I've tried food from other parts of Africa, and I think that we cook similar, because even in Ghana they have this the dawa or iru stuff too, and when they cook with it, it's like this. The aroma is very strong. Because a lot of people complain that they get gas when they eat ogbono, I try to put my ogbono as early as possible. Once the meat is half cooked, I'll just put in the ogbono so that it will begin to cook. And the more you cook the ogbono, the more it will lose the tendency to give you gas. But if you're still worried about gas, there's potash, aka kanwa. Most of the time, if you put your ogbono early enough, then you don't need the kanwa, because the tendency for ogbono to give you gas is when it's not cooked for a while. Another thing that helps is if you're afraid your ogbono might be lumpy. If you're afraid of lumps too, if you're cooking any draw that might go lumpy, you also add kanwa. Kanwa also helps to dissipate the thickener. So we're just going to let that boil for a while, for like 5 minutes, while we check on our semovita. We're going to clean up. Then when we come back, our semovita will be ready for the final mix, and we'll add our bitter leaf. So don't go away.
If you travel around the world, you will find out that there is no place like Nigeria. Beautiful, very warm and friendly climate all year round. Largest concentration of black people in the world. Hospitable, vibrant, and happy people. There is no place like Nigeria. A land of opportunities. The biggest window in the world of business and investments. Extremely rich in multicultural diversity. There is no place like Nigeria. Nigeria, truly the heart of Africa. From the Nigerian Tourism Development Corporation, tourism is life.
Okay, we're ready to add our bitter leaf. When we do that, we'll taste for salt and seasoning and see if we need more. This is just to add another flavor to it. See, our draw is really drawing.
So well.
So I'll just taste for everything. Two seasoning cubes, one more. Instead of salt, we'll add one more seasoning cube. That makes 3. We'll just add a little more water and then we'll let it simmer. We're going to turn our semovita now, and then when we're done with that, we'll bring on our special guest. Don't you go anywhere.
Nigeria, the Ogbonge matter waiting for ground now be say, make we stop to the kill ourselves. Say because I come from south, you come from north. You be Muslim, I be Christian. All of us are the same thing. Make we no agree make it devil sport is better work we got us start for Nigeria. Nigeria now our own. This is better message from NTDC.
All right, welcome back, and we have in the studio our very special guest, Nose Akele. Welcome.
Thank you.
Your business is called the Oven Cake Craft, right?
Yes, it is.
Now, what's it about?
Basically, it's a cake shop. We make cakes for all occasions: birthdays, weddings, naming ceremonies, just name it, kids' graduation, basically almost anything.
Did you study catering in school?
Not at all.
What did you study?
Accounting, actually.
So you're an accountant.
Yes, I am. Turned baker.
That's nice. So, but what inspired you?
Well, when I was young, everybody in the house used to bake. I grew up as the youngest member of the family, as the youngest person in the house. So I have an older sister. I grew up with loads of cousins in the house, and my mom had all sorts of baking equipment, and she encouraged us to bake. So I learned basically from my sister, from our house helps. You know, everybody used to bake at home, but I happened to be the only one who carried it along as I went through life.
So now it's become like that's your profession. So you actually go into the kitchen, and your bake shop has a kitchen attached, and you go into the kitchen and actually bake?
Yes, I'm hands-on.
Oh, that's nice to know.
Yeah.
Do you have other people who work with you?
Definitely, we work as a team.
You have a team of how many?
14 people at the moment.
So you're employing people as well?
Yeah.
That's good.
Thank you.
Are you trying to get some of the Bank of Industry loan? Because I hear it's business people like you they're looking for. Are you attempting to get anything out of that?
Well, the truth is, you know, these banks are very tricky, and when you collect a loan, they make it look very nice. And for now, no, maybe in the future we need to expand. We will look into that. But for now,
you're good
we're
the way
good.
you are.
Yes.
All right. At what point did you just know that this was what you were going to be doing? You know, I always ask this question because many young people, even middle-aged people, they're just getting along. Time is going by, but they don't know what exactly their calling is. So at what point do you know exactly that if you put your hand to this, it's going to work and you're going to love doing it for the rest of your life?
Well, the truth is, I didn't know if this was what I was going to be doing until I started doing it. I always knew I didn't want to be a 9-to-5 kind of person. While I was in the university studying accounting, I just could not see myself wearing a skirt suit, working in a bank or anything like that. But, well, you know, you have to go through with it. Yes, education is key.
Yes.
And when I left school, when I finished serving, I actually worked and did this for a bit. And I decided to give it a shot. I thought to myself, two things could happen. It could either work or it wouldn't, you know, and I decided to take the dive. And when I started doing it, it was difficult, but after about a year or two in the business, I realized that, okay, well, it's not so bad. So I stayed with it, and I've stayed with it till now.
How do you deal with the delegating of duties, the fact that you are on your own power supplier, your own water supplier. You're like kind of supplying everything when you go into a business, aren't you?
Yeah.
So how did you get around that? Because that is what keeps a lot of people away from starting their own thing.
Yeah. Well, I guess first and foremost you have to be determined, and also you need to, when you love what you do, you push yourself, and nothing basically can stop you. True, power supply is crazy. You know, initially when we started the business, we started without a generator and we had electric ovens, but the power supply wasn't as was pretty much constant, you know, and that cannot be, it's not the same story as it is today. You know, it's very epileptic now, so we actually have a standby gen. We've had to cope with diesel, scarcity of diesel. We've had to cope with no water in the shopping complex. But, well, I guess you always have a plan B. When there's no water in the shopping complex, we look for a tanker to supply, and
it just goes on and on
it just
and on.
goes
But
on
you have
and
to
on.
just keep swimming,
Yes.
like against the tide.
Yeah,
Is that what you're saying?
Yes, basically.
So,
yes.
but any of these young people would like to start out on their own, what would you tell them? What is the key thing?
Well, the key thing is love what you do. Love what you do, and make sure it's your own God-given idea. It's not someone putting the idea in your head. Because if it's someone putting the idea in your head, then you'll need a little push to swim through all the difficult periods. Then secondly, you have to be resilient. You just have to forge ahead no matter what. You have to be strong. You have to be headstrong as well. And basically that's just what keeps me going.
All right. Finally, finances. As I mentioned the bank industry, but
Yeah.
of course you're 7 years down the road, so you must be making some profit by now. But at the beginning, how did you finance yourself?
Well, family members, I cried to mommy. Mommy was helpful, and by God's grace, we were able to pay mommy back. And
Oh, that's good.
Well,
that is really nice to know. So she believed in you. You
Yeah.
needed someone who believed in
Yeah,
you and who
and-
was going to give you a start.
yeah, and I started small as well. So that's also very important, because if I had come up with some dream and some huge amount and mommy couldn't provide the money, then there would have been a problem. So
So what do you do when you're not working? What do you do to relax?
I exercise a lot.
Right? And music, movies, or
Yeah.
picnics, or reading. What's your?
I like the movies, a bit of everything really. I try to read as well, and dancing once in a while.
Okay. That's nice. And but have you started a family of your own?
No, not yet.
Not yet. Okay. Well, thank you very much for coming on the show.
Thank you.
And we wish you many more beautiful years of making beautiful cakes.
Thank you.
And I hope you love Semovita and Ogbono soup, because that's what we're going to be eating on the show today.
No worries.
All right. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
That's the size of our show. We've been doing, a package that has Semovita and Ogbono soup. We have the talking drummer, Buki, and now we've been talking to Nose. She's the owner of a bake shop. Thank you for being part of the show. We'll be eating Ogbono soup and Semovita shortly.